Welcome to this special session for Culture and Sports' inaugural Leadership Summit. We have learned so much today. I'd like to welcome you to this session, which is the Culture and Sports' 2023 Sports Leader of the Year. This session is not just about talking about the recipient of the award, but to more importantly discuss the importance and impact of leadership and organizational culture, and each of these coaches focus on supporting athletes. I'd like to introduce you to four special panelists today. Ben Gucciardi. Ben is the founder of Soccer Without Borders. It's a nonprofit organization that creates belonging for newcomer youth in the US and internationally through soccer education and community. Chris Snyder. Chris is the Senior Vice President of Operations for I9 Sports and was previously the former Director of Coaching Education for the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committees and for the board, and he was on the board of the National Council of Youth Sports. Jason Olive is the Director of Los Angeles Volleyball Club. Back in his playing days, he was first team All-American at the University of Hawaii. He is the founder of the JO Foundation and former director of AVP Care. And also, back in his past life, he was a television and movie actor. And finally, we have Asante Boachi. Asante is the founder of Black Star Polo and is responsible for supporting the first water polo club in Ghana and provides free swim and water polo lessons for children of Somali refugees in San Diego. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So I'd like to start off by asking you, and we can start with you, Jason, and it's a very serious question. How do you lead? And what I mean by that is, are you focused on winning at all costs, or are you focused on supporting the athlete? All right, I think Jason's frozen. Chris, do you mind starting out with that?
Man, he froze up to get out of the way of the first question. Oh, Jason, you're back. You sure you don't want to take it away and lead us off?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what, something happened there. I guess it froze or something.
Yeah, no, Jason, this was my question for you.
Sure.
So how do you lead?
Right.
And what I mean by that is, are you focused on winning at all costs or supporting athletes?
Yeah. We stay really focused on our process. For us, it's all about development in a club. You know, when people join a club like ours, they're looking to become proficient at the sport. And so that's where we keep our focus. Winning is really just a result of how well we're able to stay focused on that process of development for us. So winning is more of a byproduct of what we do than anything.
And Chris, can you add in on that?
I mean, yeah, I love what Jason said about, the process gets you to the outcome. I mean, from a personal leadership perspective, I've embraced the collaborative nature of trying to bring other smart people in around me, knowing I don't know everything. And that style of leadership of saying, hey, it's a we, not me mindset. How do we all get together to accomplish these goals? But a big part of being able to put the rubber to the road on accomplishing great goals in a process like Jason said is you got to know who you are. You got to be honest about your strengths and your weaknesses. So you got to bring that to the open table of saying, I'm great at this. I'm horrible at this. My whole team knows I'm long-winded. I'm a short Italian guy. I try to talk everybody's ear off. I'm full of excitement. And then they got to step in and calm me down so we can get things done at times. At the same time, though, they also know that I can bring the passion when it's needed, as well as have a lot of really good specific insights into how to get certain outcomes through a good process. So I know I need to, pull smart people in around me with interests I don't have. And that type of balance in a culture that you want to have makes that leadership style that I have, and as well as what Jason said about getting a great outcome through a strong process, it gets more success, which makes it super fun and kind of that team mentality. So it's a bit about my thoughts on leadership and how I lead. Maybe go to Ben, see what he thinks.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, what Jason and Chris shared definitely resonates with me a lot. I think one thing I would add is working in the context of, working with underserved communities in the United States, I think it's really important to be able to know when you have to not necessarily follow exactly what's prescribed by the systems that are set up for students, because those systems are failing students, and you have to be willing to sometimes do things a little bit differently and be able to lead and say, advocate for why you're doing things a little bit differently, and why you might change requirements, and why you might try to create new systems so that the students are actually able to be served and able to access programming, as opposed to continuing to be left out of things. So I think you need to be able to know what is it non-negotiable with working with systems, and where there's an opportunity to kind of redefine things for yourself, so that the kids who really need programs can really access those.
And Ben, since you're already talking, how do you seamlessly work with so many different people from so many, not only countries, languages, and communities, but also cultures as well?
Yeah, something we talk a lot about at Soccer Without Borders, and I think is a term that's getting out there a little bit more, is the idea of cultural humility. So not the idea of trying to know everything about everyone's culture and being expert, but rather to approach each person as an individual and not assume anything about their experience based on, this person is a refugee from this place, therefore they have this in common. And what I've found time and time again is you might have 3 families who just immigrated to Oakland from the same city in the same country, and each family has a very different story. And really approaching each youth and each family that we work with as an individual and trying to get to know them on their terms is the way that we try to approach that. And the other thing I would say is we've really tried to incorporate having a lot of alumni staff into our program. We're now 35% of our staff across the organization are alumni. And so that means that there's a lot of language and cultural competency and fluency across the organization as well.
And Chris, how do you show your coaches, support staff, front office staff, and athletes that they're valued?
I mean, the traditional corporate way is you do a recognition program, and then we all giggle and throw up in our mouths a little bit. The real way of showing true value recognition to those around you doing really good work is to consistently literally call them out, and to make sure that you are paying it forward by being very direct with the thank yous, but also the team celebrations. I think a lot of cultures, whether it's sport or business oriented, we get ruined when it's all about the all-star. It's about the one person taking the credit, and it's normally the dude at the top or the woman at the top. That quote unquote coach or leader gets all the accolades, or that one star captain gets all the accolades, but the hard work's done by the team, and it's done by everybody in different roles. So the reality is you've got to pay it forward to each individual and find opportunities to shout each other out, pull each other in, and celebrate as a team for those awards, and small things. I mean, even failures. We screw something up, not being afraid to call a failure out and then say to the team, good, we did it. And did we do it fast enough? Okay, what do we do next? But just that true honesty of sharing the ball, so to speak, so everybody feels a part of that win, feels a part of that victory, or even the small things. I mean, that's truly where I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to recognition. Without it, I mean, we all go searching for that. We go searching for places that make us feel involved, connected, so to speak. So if you want to keep people around you, whether it's your customers, whether it's literally those that you're impacting, in your business, or those that we're trying to impact through sport, you build that connection and you share it with each other. It's an avenue to pay you back tenfold.
Asante, you're in the role that you have, whether it's teaching children of Somali refugee families, or out there in Ghana, or even your other coaching experience in Zimbabwe and other countries. Is it okay for your athletes to make mistakes? Are you upset when they make mistakes? Are you celebrating those mistakes?
Hey, everybody. First, let me just say hello to everyone really quick. And loving this panel. What I want to mention on that note, Jeremy, is since the sport, water polo, is so new to these African communities, we really don't look at anything. I don't look at anything as a mistake, because my main thing was just building experience with everybody. Just, hey, get in the water, try this new stroke, try this new shot, try this and that, just encouraging them to try so they can see something that will allow them to win, score the ball, or something that will allow them to learn. Because it's very easy to call out the mistakes as a coach, especially working with the kids in Ghana now, who are now starting to get the game and now starting to understand the errors and the right moves to make. You know, they are able to call out their own mistakes. But for me as a coach, it's something where it's like, I'm really okay with them just experimenting, you know? They see a cool shot on a video, a highlight reel, and they try it out. And then when it gets to that point where I need you guys to follow protocol, that's where we start to polish the mistakes. And it's interesting. I shared a story in Zimbabwe where one of my old coaches, or I was like at a camp, and he was saying, don't ever take this shot. This shot is never a good shot to take. And that stuck with me. And I stuck away from making that shot ever in games because that coach's voice is in my ear. Meanwhile, that is taking away what potentially could be a signature shot for a player. So you really want to learn to find that fine line of encouraging them to try everything. And then we're more so encouraging their strengths as opposed to removing an opportunity and classifying it as a mistake. You know, just, hey, this works better than that. That may not be the best thing for this scenario. Let's focus on what you're really, really good at, what you excel at. So I put it all under the umbrella of experience because that's what you really want. That's when there's more encouragement and more knowledge of the plays the players make, they stick with the game more, in my opinion, in my experience.
Yeah, if I could jump in on that, it's so well said, Asante. And it's really interesting, given that you sounds like you've coached in so many different countries. That so you see this in various places, and I'll say we really see that from a gender perspective. And I always tell people, one of the things that we really have to fight from a performance anxiety point of view with the girls is they have such a sense of community that when they're practicing, their willingness to make errors is really pretty low. If we can start them early, like if you're starting like 8-9 years old, then we can build into their mental perception this culture of making mistakes is great and fun. But once a girl is even 10-11 years old, these girls have such a sense of community. Like if they make an error, they feel like they let themselves down, they let their teammates down, they let their friends down, they let their parents down, they let their community down. If a boy makes 12 mistakes, his answer is, what's for dinner? And so I've really seen this like with the genders where it's like the girls are so community based. And so we've really had to pay attention to that and work a lot of that kind of communication into our coaching of really urging them to take the mistakes, or like Asante said, taking the shot that no one thinks that you should take. And that's been really, really good for us as we work toward this process of creating championship mindset.
And could you explain a little bit more about your experiences, especially with women and girls in your program?
Yeah, sure. So Soccer Without Borders is focused on serving newcomer youth in the US, and internationally, the programs in Nicaragua and Uganda are primarily serving girls. So in Granada, Nicaragua, the program is 100% staffed by women from the community, and the U17 national team had 5 members of our program there because we're one of the organizations that provides programming for girls at the earliest age. It's something that is kind of doesn't start for girls at here in the US. It's common to see under 6, under 8 teams, but that was kind of unprecedented. So it's been really wonderful to see that infrastructure grow through the years. And now a lot of participants who have come through the program are now coming back as coaches and able to really be role models. There's a saying that they have: if she can see it, she can be it. And that's a really important kind of thing that we try to live through. Who's leading the programs and who are the role models for the girls.
So each of you, well, actually, let me backtrack for a second. Thank you each of you for sharing your leadership stories. And I know we didn't have a lot of time to share them, but I definitely appreciate it. I know the attendees and people watching this in the future will definitely appreciate it. Each of you were nominated by those in your communities. And just so you know, this vote came down to the last possible vote. You all are basically incredibly equal with the voting, but there was one person that emerged today as the winner of the 2023 Sports Leader of the Year, with even votes that happened during this summit. So each of you, before I name who it is, each of you are incredible leaders and are loved by your communities. You should be very proud of that. And it's just been great speaking with you just over the phone and on the Culture and Sports podcast and now here. So thank you very much for your commitments to your community and your positive leadership and the positive organizational cultures that you create. So without further ado, Asante, congratulations on being selected as Culture and Sports this 2023 Sports Leader of the Year. For all of our panelists and attendees, please join our final two events, the Shoemaker and Strad meet and greet sessions, which are starting right now. And thank you again for joining Culture and Sports' 2023 Annual Leadership Summit.